Imagine this scenario. It's been 3 days since you found out that you're one of the winners of the record-breaking $656 million Mega Millions jackpot. After you have regained consciousness, you have several decisions to make to protect your newfound wealth. Attorney Andrew Stoltmann has represented lottery winners who have been defrauded out of their winnings. He joins me now from Chicago. Andrew, welcome back to Bottom Line. Always a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you, Mark.
Andrew, what's the first thing a lottery winner should do?
I think the very first thing that the lottery winners need to do is make certain you have a good safe, because just because you have the winning ticket doesn't mean you've won the lottery. You have to turn that ticket in, and there have been stories and cases in the past where people who have won the lottery have lost the ticket, or the tickets become destroyed. So guard that ticket with your life, put it in a very good safe, and get ready to turn it over to the lottery folks.
Andrew, how quickly should a winner put together a financial advisory team, a team of professionals, and where do you go to make sure that the folks that you hire can pass muster, that they are reputable?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think the first thing you have to do is you have to build that team, and that team has to have a lawyer on it, it has to have a CPA on it, and you have to have the financial advisor. And kind of the question becomes, what sort of financial advisor do you get? And personally, I think that you need to hire somebody like an hourly financial advisor, someone who you know doesn't have the incentive to do what's in his best interest instead of your best interest. But those are kind of the threshold first issues that you have to make. You have to develop that team.
Andrew, you also say you shouldn't share the news. Why not? Are you talking about outside of the immediate family, or not even tell your family members?
I think you tell your immediate family members, but realize once the person's identity gets out in this country, that person will likely be the most heavily stalked person by both legitimate banks, legitimate brokerage firms, but also illegitimate sources, scamsters, people who are looking to take advantage of them. And we've represented people who are lottery winners who have won millions and have had all of it wiped out, in large part because the scammers get their hands on the money and then it's gone, and it's really a tragic case.
Well, I guess that follows next, because even after you've hired the pros, how important is it to do your own financial homework? A lot of people would just as soon co-opt that and let somebody else do it because they figure this is not my area of expertise.
Yeah, you have to learn the basics, and I think that's really problematic with some of these lottery winners. I think there's one report where a possible person has come forward claiming she's won the lottery. I think she's a 37-year-old McDonald's worker in Maryland. A lot of the people who win these lotteries simply don't have the tools or the infrastructure in place to manage a large sum, much less $100 million. So that's going to be the key issue for those folks.
Andrew, a lot of winners opt to take a lump sum payment. Why do you think that's a bad idea?
Oh boy, there are studies out there that show 90% of the lottery winners are broke within 5 years of winning the lottery. And I think one of the problems is these people will receive the money, they'll take that lump sum distribution, and then they blow it, or they invest in the wrong investment, or they trust the wrong person, and the money can dissipate very quickly. If you take the 26-month payments, you can make catastrophic mistakes in the first year, the second year, third year, learn your lessons, and still have 22 years left of payments. So yeah, there may be some tax advantages because possibly tax rates might go up in the future, but if you're talking about just protecting the corpus, I've recommended to people that you take that 26-year distribution to make certain if you do make those mistakes, they're not catastrophic.
Andrew, I have to ask you, if the winnings are too large to be covered by FDIC insurance at regular banks, and stuffing the money inside your mattress isn't the best idea, where should you put the money?
Yeah, excellent point, because most banks have $250,000 of FDIC coverage, so you really should, even though I'm not a big fan of some of the major banks and brokerage firms out there, they should seriously consider turning that money over to a Goldman Sachs, over to a Merrill Lynch or a Citigroup, at least until you can figure out what your long-term plan is. You know those companies hopefully aren't going to go out of business, but more importantly, they have insurance, so if something does happen, that person is covered.
Andrew, I have to ask you quickly before we let you go. You mentioned that McDonald's employee in Maryland. She said that she was one of the winners. However, there's already a controversy. She reportedly bought tickets for a pool of employees, but is now reportedly saying the winning ticket is one she bought separately for herself. How would something like this get resolved?
Well, as a threshold matter, the person who has the ticket is entitled to the money, but I think what's going to happen is those other folks are going to seek an injunction against the lottery folks and prevent them from paying that money out. If indeed what she's saying is accurate, I think you're going to see a very large amount of litigation for at least the next year.
All right, Securities Attorney Andrew Stoltmann joining us from Chicago. Andrew, it's always a pleasure to have you on. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Mark.